Hey everybody, it's Stephen from Frederick, Maryland again with another episode of How I Cook. Today we're going to be doing pot roast. As with all my episodes, I'm not saying this is the way you have to do it. I'm not saying this is the right way to do it. I'm saying this is the way I do it. So, I like to do it in a crock pot. This is a new crock pot that I bought after Christmas. Less than 20 bucks. I know that the Instapots are really hot right now, but looking at the way I cook and everything I do, I decided to go with the old style crock pot when the previous one broke. So, what we're going to do is spray some vegetable oil into the crock pot. I also like mushrooms. So here's a container, a large container of mushrooms. Put them right in. This is really easy. It's around 11 o'clock on a Thursday morning, a work day. I'm just taking a quick break from work to get this all set up. And today after work, dinner will basically be done. So the mushrooms are in there. Other things that I'm going to put in are rosemary, better than bouillon, onion soup mix, and wine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sprinkle the rosemary right on the mushroom. I really like the flavor of rosemary. You use whatever you want to. What flavors do you like? Italian seasoning, anything you want to do. The reason I put the rosemary on the mushrooms is if you put it in the mixing cup, the rosemary tends to get caught on the side of the cup. I'm just going to throw it right there in the mushroom. The flavor will get released and all will be good. Open a pack of onion soup mix. Pour it in the measuring cup. I'm doing it in a measuring cup just because it's easy to mix. I'm not actually measuring. Okay, that's ready to go. And the better than bouillon, I would normally put in here as well and mix it up. But this is the last gasp for this jar of better than bouillon. So I'm actually going to put wine in here and shake it up and get the residual off the sides. So you may be asking, why does he use better than bouillon? It's a whole pot roast. I really like the flavor, and it does make beef more beefy. One thing you'll notice I am not including is salt. The onion soup mix and the better than bouillon have a lot of salt in them. So that's pretty good. Now I'll pour the wine and the better than bouillon in there. I take the pot roast, which was in the freezer, and put it in the crock pot. I get my pot roast at one of the warehouse stores, and they come 2 or 3 per package. So typically there's one in the freezer. How much does this weigh? I did weigh it only for these purposes. I normally wouldn't. It's 2.5 pounds. But the recipe doesn't change. If it was 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, same recipe that I use. So this is the mixture of better than bouillon, the onion soup, and the red wine. I just pour it all over the pot roast. Yes, I am using my hands. Yes, I did wash my hands prior to this. I'm going to rinse my hands real quickly. Okay, now I take the wine and I pour it around the pot roast. Pretty much coming up to the top of the pot roast. Yes, I use wine. I like the flavor. But if you don't want to use alcohol because you have kids and you're concerned, don't use alcohol. I'm also pouring the blood from the pot roast in. Use stock. use beef stock, use vegetable stock, use water. Use whatever you like. But voila, we're done. In here is mushroom, onion soup mix, better than bouillon, and red wine, and of course the pot roast. I'm going to turn the slow cooker on to low for about 6 hours, which means this will be done around 5 o'clock. I will turn it probably every 2 hours. So for now, that's it, and I'll see you in a couple hours. Okay, so it's been around 6 hours. Our pot roast has been sitting in here around 3 hours. I took it and I flipped it over. So let's take a look and see what it looks like now. So we could see when I put it in, it wasn't totally submerged in liquid. It is now. The meat and the mushrooms both released liquid. I'm going to take the pot roast out. It really shrinks down, but it's still plenty. And this is really soupy, a little more soupy than I want it to be for a nice gravy. So what I'm going to do is you take a little cornstarch and you put it in a dish. This is a teaspoon, not a teaspoon measurement, just a regular teaspoon that you use to take. Put a little bit of it in there. You want to put hot liquid in with cornstarch so it doesn't clump up. So I'm trying to get hot liquid without the mushrooms. If I get some mushrooms in, it's fine. And we stir it around. I think they call this a slurry. So we make a little bit of a slurry. You could feel it clump up at the bottom, but then it releases with the hot liquid. All good. You pour it right back into the gravy. So we mix it up. This is going to thicken over time and make more of a gravy and less of a soup. So we're going to put the pot roast back in. These mushrooms, I'm not going to put back in. I'll probably eat them right now. Put the lid back on and turn the crock pot down to warm because the pot roast is essentially done. So, what are we going to do? We're going to have butternut squash. I know a lot of people like to put vegetables in with the pot roast. I don't. I think it makes everything sort of one note. So you can use, yes, I did wash my hands, mashed potatoes, rice, vegetables. I'm just using butternut squash. I sprayed the aluminum foil with some spray, and now I sprayed some on there. This is a specialty salt called Maple Me Crazy. It's a little after Christmas, and I'm sure you all got gift boxes and gift bags and gift baskets with spices and herbs and that sort of stuff and salts in it. Don't throw them away. Don't just put them in the cabinet and not use them. This one's Maple Me Crazy. It's salt, maple, garlic, and thyme. It's really good on vegetables. So I put a little on. I really put a lot on because I really like it. And I have a 350-degree oven preheating. We're going to put this in for 45 minutes. That'll allow the gravy to thicken up. That'll cook. And then we will be ready to eat. So see you back in 45 minutes. So I said we'd be back in 45 minutes. Actually, it's only around 25-30 minutes. I checked the squash in the oven at around 20 minutes, and it was almost done. So I've left it in for about 5-10 more minutes. Steaming hot, got a little bit of char on there. It's not really char. Caramelization is the word I was looking for. We'll let it cool down a little while I check out the pot roast. The gravy's thickened up a bit, so we'll take the meat out and put it here. Let the gravy continue to thicken a little. So, our pot roast is done. I have to let it sit a little, but I'm just going to take a little piece right here. It's really good. Sorry for eating the camera. And a piece of butternut squash, if one wants to cooperate. That's really good as well. So, you see, although it took all day, it took very little prep and very little attending to have pot roast with mushroom gravy and squash. So I hope everybody enjoyed this episode of How I Cook, and I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.